Hey everyone, this is Jason Rogash. I'm making a quick video today about Hillary Clinton's acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention 2016. I sat down to watch this thing. I knew what to expect. It's a rallying the base. That's all the Democratic National Conventions are. That's what the Republican National Convention is. They're just to rally the base. But let me be clear. I fucking hate conventions. Hate them all. And I hate Bill Clinton. And for a varying variety of reasons I will go into in this little diatribe. So I'm not a fan of him, or I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton. I don't really like her. She hasn't really done any policies that make me totally find her retching. Her support of war has been a very contentious point for me, and her continued support of it. And in fact, in this speech, she almost went more hockey than Trump. And I'll go into that. I'm going to go into this in the order in which she talked about it. I took some notes. So here's my take on it. When I sat down to watch the acceptance speech, I noticed, first of all, that if the Democrats had elected another candidate, even Bernie Sanders, I believe, they would be winning by a larger margin. Like, they would just be blowing Trump out of the water. He wouldn't even be close. But they decided to go with Clinton because it's her time. She's earned it. She's raised billions of dollars for the Democratic National Committee. She's made tons of money. She has tons of support, and it's her time. She deserves it. She should have had it in 2008, in her mind, in her people's mind. But Barack Obama usurped her. Now she gets the chance. She's the nominee. That's why she got the nominee. Not because of her ideas, not because not because she's better than everybody else in the Democratic Party. It's just her time. Obama is a terrible president. He's a liar. He's a shill. He's a warmonger. I don't think anyone would doubt that, and I can go into detail if you'd like. Everyone at the Democratic Convention, by the way, knows this. You could hear when Barack Obama, with his speech, even when the people would mention him, he doesn't get the reception that he once got. He's known to be the piece of shit that he is. And we all should be known and be warned that he is a bad guy. Barack Obama is the only thing change, and Hillary Clinton used that word over and over again. Change as well, because it worked. It's a corporate empty fucking message. That's all that change shit is. That's all it is. And that's all Barack Obama is, an empty suit. And we can talk about Guantanamo Bay. We can talk about Iraq and Afghanistan. We can talk about his recent engagement of more troops in Afghanistan. We can talk about his lack of doing anything for labor in this country. We can talk about that incredibly bad healthcare act that has taken every working class person from full-time to part-time, because nobody wants to provide healthcare no corporations want to provide healthcare anymore. It's crazy. And by the way, Tim Kaine looks like he's retarded, and his wife looks like his sister. So I'm just saying that. And then there's the bullshit career politician that is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders reminds me a lot of Ron Paul. Ron Paul, everyone telling me what a libertarian he is and how great he is. And this is a guy who spent the last 20 years of his life making money in government. The same government that he rails against, same government that he didn't like. And Bernie Sanders is similar to that. Bernie Sanders isn't so much a political organizer anymore or any of that. He's just a politician. And him sitting there Bernie Sanders, I've never been a huge Bernie Sanders fan. I like his ideas, I like his policies, but he always seems to me like he's got an agenda that you just aren't sure of. But I could be wrong. So all the base rallying crap, that's the whole goal of these. We all know that. She harkens back to the founding fathers and that fucking lie. And that lie continues to go. It's working for the Republicans, and you don't see the Democrats do it as much. Every politician does it at some point. And national politicians who are running for federal office are always senators, etc., representatives. They use it a lot too. But Hillary Clinton used it in an annoying way because Trump's using it, of course. The founding fathers, let me be clear about the founding fathers. They were rich, white landowners who wanted to expand further to the west, so they needed to get the British to stop their restrictions. George Washington was in enormous debt from his land speculation, our first president, from land speculation, and he needed the British to go away because he owed them money. In what today's dollars would be tens of millions of dollars. He needed Western expansion. That's all the Revolutionary War was about the British saying, no, you can't go any more west. And the colonists, the rich colonists, the people who could afford to go to Pennsylvania and spend 4 months away from their farms and write the Constitution. Think about that. And by the way, when I watch Hillary Clinton bring up the founding fathers, she fails to mention, and it's glaring, that if you were a woman, you couldn't vote. You had no rights. Isn't that ironic that you would bring up the founding fathers when you're a woman running for president, when they explicitly said women can't even vote? We don't even consider them citizens. They have no rights. And, oh, by the way, black people don't either. before, I mean, Barack Obama. Can you imagine if Thomas Jefferson saw Barack Obama as president? Anyway, the Constitution was written by rich men, and this is the two things that really shocked me about the Constitution when you start talking about the Constitution, and she harkens back to the Founding Fathers and the Constitution. First of all, the Constitution suppresses mass democracy, which is what Democrats or liberals or the masses, the populace, all of us would be benefit from if we could actually have national referendums to vote things on up or down instead of letting our representatives, who are controlled entirely by corporations, entirely by money, make those decisions for us. That would be awesome. That would be great if we could actually, but the Constitution stops national referendums. It's unconstitutional to have a national referendum. So you can never vote. Like to get out of the EU, for instance, we would never be able to vote as Great Britain did. She conflates America and conflates with the Founding Fathers and the Constitution. And like I said, the Constitution suppressed mass democracy and supports and protects private property to a ridiculous degree, to a degree that makes absolutely no sense and is not in any way sensible. So, and it's only the Constitution really only benefits the really wealthy. If you really, other than the First Amendment, everything else, and maybe the Second Amendment, all the other amendments that. There are so many amendments that absolutely do not affect or do not help the working class normal people. And the ones that do are usually the ones that could benefit us the most. Like if we could vote if we wanted federalized health care, if we could vote if we wanted abortion to be legal or not legal, and get that debate completely over with. Or we could have voted for gay marriage or not gay marriage in the federal. But no, we can't. We have to elect representatives, and then they go, and then they get bought off by corporations with agendas and people with agendas, and then they vote that way. So fuck the Constitution. I mean, the Constitution has its strengths, but it also has incredible weaknesses. And the Founding Fathers were no friends of the working classes. Why is Trump popular? Well, in part, it's because of the Bill Clinton presidency. And this is why it was ironic to watch. I mean, remember, Bill Clinton, NAFTA, GATT, World Trade, outsourcing. He repealed Glass-Steagall, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He let Goldman Sachs run wild, Robert Reich run wild all over, not Robert Reich, excuse me, Robert, the other one that ran Goldman Sachs, and his cabal of dishonest assholes, and then throw in his love of Alan Greenspan and all of the shit and the Chicago School of Economics and all of that nonsense in the 90s. That deregulation, that is Clinton's fault. I mean, you can say it was a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate all you want, and that's true, but Clinton didn't veto shit. And Clinton was a supporter and pushed through and helped work with other Democrats, as his wife did, to push these things through. So it's funny to watch fucking Hillary Clinton complain about outsourcing or complain about any of that shit when her husband was really the guy who laid all the groundwork for it and laid the groundwork for the 2008 collapse when he repealed Glass-Steagall. So, that's hilarious. And that's why I hate Hillary Clinton and I hate Bill Clinton. Then she uses FDR and World War II to compare to the new war on terror, which, of course, World War II is the good war. So you conflate all wars with World War II because World War II is the just war. Clinton's promises are hollow. That's her problem. And she shows that she's a globalist, and she wants more free trade. I mean, she says it openly. It's very obvious. She's not trying to protect us. She's not protecting the working classes or manufacturing in America. She has no intention of doing that. She wants to get to the presidency on the back of labor. And she's going to probably do it because Donald Trump is so crazy. But I'll continue. Obamacare has basically destroyed the 40-hour work week for the working classes in this country. And it is absolute because it's mandated now that that healthcare is that you provide healthcare for your 40-hour-a-week workers. Well, corporations just aren't going to do that, and that should not exist. First of all, we should have federalized healthcare. That's what Hillary Clinton should be pushing. She did push that in the 90s, and that's to her credit. She was destroyed by people like Newt Gingrich and others. They called her, Hillary Care and all that, but we really should have what Canada has and what England has and what Russia has and what all industrialized countries have in that socialized medicine. It's ridiculous we don't, and the only reason we don't is because of lobbyists. And she doesn't mention lobbyists. She never mentions lobbyists. What a problem they are. They should be eliminated. She mentions getting money out of politics, but she doesn't mention the 40,000 plus lobbyists that are in Washington. That is insidious, and it needs to stop, and there needs to be laws made. Lobbying needs to be taken down as we know it, because you can buy votes, and once you can buy your representatives, it's a hell of a lot easier to buy 500 plus people or 200 people in Washington than it would be to buy 320 million of us. That's why another reason I hate the Constitution. Again, no national referendums are unconstitutional. But anyway, her foreign policy is war. War, war, war. Did she talk about getting out of Iraq and Afghanistan? No. Did she talk about ending Guantanamo Bay? No. Her foreign policy is war, war, and more war. Bullshit platitudes. And by the way, who listens to this generic shit? She uses firefighters and cops and nurses and caregivers to shame Trump, which is hilarious from a Clinton. I mean, and please stop using the founding fathers. Please stop using the caregivers and nurses and police officers to make your point that Trump somehow doesn't care about those people, or that somehow we can't go forward without them. That it was nonsense. It made no sense. And all it was really to do was to grab you emotionally and connect Hillary Clinton to caregivers. And by the way, making cops victims, I found, was interesting because, look, cops shouldn't be shot. Nobody should be shot, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. But acting like police officers haven't been racially profiling for the last 50 fucking years, acting like police weren't putting tear gas into fucking black people and hoses and attacking them with dogs, acting like black guys haven't been shot just for being black. I've been in cars with black dudes who have been pulled over for driving while black. I've seen it. I have family members. So don't feed me that bullshit that cops are victims because you need to get elected now when the audience is full of African Americans who can tell you, and Latinos, and even white guys and white girls who can tell you stories about their boyfriends, brothers, friends, etc., family members being pulled over just simply for being a minority by a white cop. Or a black cop for that matter. Or, they racially profile. That's what police officers do. And making them victims that was hilarious to me. And I said to myself, "Oh, you're making the cops the victims? The guys and girls with guns and badges and the state behind them. Those are the victims." Okay. Hillary Clinton has no ideas. She's just ambitious, like Trump. That's what they have in common. They're both ambitious. She uses her past as a stick. Her mom being, left at the doorstep of some blah, blah, blah. Her dad coming up from nothing and serving in World War II, and her mom being poor and needing people and da-da-da. Never doesn't explain why she was a Goldwater girl or any of that stuff. But anyway, she doesn't go into her other history, her other past at college and etc. Unity is great, but what about the fucking economy? That's really what I was thinking was unity. She keeps talking about unity, and I know what she's doing. She's fighting against Trump. Wonderful. What about the economy? That's why Trump's popular, because he's talking about trying to fix the economy. Whether or not he's a dick or not is totally and she calls him a dick basically in the speech. It's quite funny. She doesn't say that, but she implies it. I wonder when the Clintons lost their way, because I was listening to her talk about her mom, and I was listening to her talk about the physically challenged girl that she helped when she was an advocate, and she talked about all the different things that she done. And I'd wonder when they lost their way, because they know better. They know the working classes. They know labor. They've thrown labor under the bus. Why do they support all these wars? These were, when did they lose their way? Was it back when Carol Quigley, when Bill Clinton was introduced to globalism at Oxford, or before then when he came from a Rockefeller state like fucking Arkansas? When did it happen? Were they ever really like us, or were they always ambitious frauds who use their intellect to take down the Democratic National Party and the idea of liberalism in America? Not on purpose, just simply because of who they were. They were more Republican than they were Democrat. By the way, women, I get it. Congrats. You are as bad as men now. I'm joking. Now go make me a sandwich. No, I'm just kidding. I know why women are... I watched when Hillary Clinton said a woman being nominated is historic, and I watched women in the audience, grown women, hug each other. And I am a man, a white male in America, tall white male. I don't have any fucking clue what the fuck you're feeling. And congratulations on that measure. You're now as bad as the rest of us, because I always think women are so much better than men that I'm glad that they can achieve the same thing. I get the glass stealing. I'm a liberal, for fuck's sake. For women's rights, I'm a borderline feminist. So the only reason I'm not a feminist is because I think it's been bastardized, and I'm not a Gloria Steinem feminist. I'm more of anyway, the point is, congratulations, women. You're as bad as men now. Policy. Obama is terrible, and again has forced corporations to cut full-time workers, and under this Affordable Care Act, which has just been a disaster. Yeah, and by the way, poor people were always eligible for Medicaid and Medicare. Just because they weren't technically covered under the health care, they could always go, they couldn't be rejected in an emergency room, and they could always go to a doctor and fill out health care, Social Security forms, Medicaid and Medicare forms, and if they qualified, even if people owned a home and a car, you still qualified for Medicaid and Medicare. So that was the expansion. If we would have have expanded Medicaid, Medicare, like Obama wanted to do. In part, it would have helped. But instead, he gave it all away to insurance companies because insurance companies wanted to regulate it. Insurance companies wanted to be the ones in charge of the healthcare. So they got to be. Dangerous, dangerous time. And that's why the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is not good and needs to be repealed. It's forcing corporations to do things that they're not legally mandated to do. So if you can't legally mandate a corporation to employ everyone for 40 hours, then they're going to put everyone at part-time, or they're going to not employ anybody, or they're going to keep their labor force down or whatever, because they're not going to provide healthcare because healthcare is so fucking expensive in America. Period. General Motors, we've talked about this before. But anyway, I did like the overturning Citizens United thing. I did like that. She mentions corporations paying their fair share, but I need to see some laws. She needs to put enact some laws. We can only save the planet with good paying jobs. This bothers me. I'm an environmentalist and I don't like this. I don't like the idea that we have to put a fucking dollar sign to save the earth. I don't like the idea that we have to have good paying jobs to save the earth. Let's just save the earth. Huh? We live here. Let's just stop polluting the oceans. Let's just stop dumping shit into the sky, toxins into the sky. Let's find better ways to, we live in cities now cars have better emission standards than they've ever had. And they keep getting better and better. Those standards should be applied to the military industrial complex because they are the largest polluters in the world. And stop putting a dollar sign on trying to save the environment. I don't care what it costs. I don't care if there's one job that comes from it. We need to save the environment because we don't have another one. And by the way, we've had 8 years of a Democratic president, and everything is worse for the working class, and the environment is in worse shape. Just keep that in mind. 8 years of a Democratic president, and the guy who spoke that really Democrats don't even like, and they're glad to see go. He's done nothing for us. Nothing. In fact, the opposite. Standing up to China, I found to be hilarious when she said it, because it was just it's like a slogan she took from the Republicans, like that's standing up to China. No, you need to stand up to the corporations who have taken all of their manufacturing jobs and fled to cheap labor because your husband began that process with GATT and World Trade. I mean, that's the truth. So standing up to China, no, you need to stand up to the corporations that keep leaving here and make it so you can't sell your products in this country unless you make them in this country, or at least part of your products in this country. Period. If you want to sell your products in this country, you got to make 50% of them here. There should be, or higher tariffs, or whatever it needs, but free trade needs to go. And Hillary Clinton's a free trader. Abortion, of course, to rally the ladies. I'm all for it. Equal pay for ladies, of course. Who is against that? My favorite thing that everyone keeps talking about for the last 12 years is invest in infrastructure. America's infrastructure is crumbling and we need to invest in it. When is that going to happen? And by the way, when is that not going to be used as a line anymore? Are we just going to keep talking infinitum? You could say that about every single country in the world. They need to invest in their infrastructure. It's completely ridiculous. Eliminating student debt. Refinancing, not Jubilee, which I find to be really repugnant. If Hillary Clinton was really serious about getting the future in a good place financially and increasing our ability to educate our children and thus increasing invention and business, etc., then you would give Jubilee to everybody that owes student loans. You don't make them serve in the government. You don't try to have them work the military. You don't do that George Clooney bullshit about having, everybody, you could get free college, but you'd have to serve 2 years in the military or 2 years in the... Why you got to serve a government to get educated? That's fucking ridiculous. But, and of course, she didn't say that, but that's what the Democrats have been trying to push through, is some kind of service to the government in some way, shape, or form to pay for your college. How about it's just free? Because it would benefit everybody. Make us smarter, make better business people, make inventions, make industry better, make everything better if we were all educated. So we need Jubilee, not refinance. Completely ridiculous. And I said this, how about free college? How about we just get free college? Lots of promises, but really it's a corporate agenda led by an ambitious human who has shown that she is not interested in changing anything. She's for the status quo. She says raising corporate taxes. We'll see. The forever unfulfilled promise of that, by the way, is always looming over politics. Her husband helped create outsourcing and repealed Glass-Steagall. She points out Trump's sales pitch, which I like. The American First thing is a historically telling slogan. It implies that he is a Nazi. which I agree with. He is an American firster. He is a isolationist. Not, I don't know if he's an I think he's more of a isolationist than a protectionist, but I don't know. I think he's just not good. And I love how the wife of the president who started the flood of outsourcing again tries to shame Trump on outsourcing and labor and any of that. It's hollow, completely hollow. And she's voted for these things, by the way, as well. She tried to support these trade deals until she didn't support them because her base wouldn't stand for it. Just remember that about Hillary Clinton. Then the war shit starts. Then the war talk. All the support the troops shit. All that take down Iran. All that Hillary and the environment. Hillary and the environment and how she's going to it's giving lip service to it and saying you believe in global warming, but really the Kyoto treaties. America doesn't even respect its own treaties. America doesn't sign off on anything. China and America are the two largest economies, the two largest polluters, and they don't fucking sign off on anything because it will hurt their economies. It will hurt their empires. So America is not signing off on anything. She can try all she wants. Corporate America will not, and she knows this. It's just lip service to the environmentalists to get the base, to get them to vote for her. She talks about killing ISIS, airstrikes. I love how Democrats use she doesn't use the troops. She doesn't talk about the slog that you have to have on the ground, the killing inevitably that you have to do face to face with special forces. She mentions airstrikes to get rid of them and then use local troops the local troops will be your special forces. You're just not told they're there fighting and killing. And then the local forces you'll see pictures of them as like the heroes or whoever. But she's basically talking about airstrikes because Americans can tolerate airstrikes because there's a new form of war in America. It's airstrikes and drones. Nobody ever has to die. No Americans ever have to die in war. Just the brown people. It's fucking horrifying when you think about what she's really saying. And she's getting farther than Trump to the right on terror. I'm amazed at that. I've never seen a Democrat do that. She in a convention. She's getting more hawkish. Hillary Clinton's more of a hawk than Donald Trump is on the war on terror. I was stunned about that. And she called our military a national treasure. Let that soak in. The military, the murder machine, the empire killing machine, the corporate grinder is a national treasure. Okay. Who is the hawk here? Is it Trump or Hillary Clinton? Interesting, because she seems like that. And I'm surprised that she did it at the national convention. That's what really shocked me. She didn't do it on Meet the Press. She did it she did it on her base, and her base applauded it. Scary times to be a Democrat. She mentions his temperament, which this is where I liked what Hillary Clinton did, and this is why she waited till the end to do it, and this is why she is going to win. This was smart, smart, smart. She said this, a man that you can bait with a tweet is not a man we can trust with nuclear weapons. That's all I'm saying. That's the crux of it. I think she could have walked out on stage and just shown that, like I said, that Barry Goldwater LBJ commercial where the little girl in the mushroom cloud. That's what this is about. I fucking hate Hillary Clinton. I don't like her policies. I don't like her husband. I don't like the fact that she has turned her back on the working classes and the unions. But all of that said, I don't want the world to be nuclear winterized. I don't want small nukes to be used because Donald Trump is having a bad day and is frustrated with ISIS and wants to make a point. I'm going to say this quote again, and this is what it's all about. A man you can bait with a tweet is not a man we can trust with nuclear weapons. Brilliant line. Whoever wrote that. And that's what this is about. And she said it. Fear and pride. Your pride and your fear. I don't worry that Hillary Clinton is going to have too much pride or too much fear and do something irrational with a nuclear weapon. The DNC, this is some things I liked about the speech. The DNC is more inclusive. They give a shit more about women and minorities. They give a shit more, sometimes they used to, about labor. I was stunned at how labor was not the unions, nothing is addressed. And this is the Democratic National Convention. This is the speech of the candidate who's going to be president of the United States, not mentioning labor unions. I was kind of stunned at that, and I'm saddened by it. I'm horrified by it. And her support of Obamacare is also something that's not good for the working classes. I don't care about the middle classes. Fuck the middle classes. The middle classes are an illusion anyway. It's mostly working class people living paycheck to paycheck, paying their enormous debts that they owe for their houses and their cars and their boats and their fucking RVs and their vacations and their credit cards and their kids' school and all that shit. So they're working class, but they have the illusion that they're if they missed 2 or 3 months worth of a paycheck, they would be broke too. They would be homeless as well. So, I'm tired. And the real thing that she should have done, I wish she would have said, really the reason she doesn't do the socioeconomic stuff as much, because it's class warfare. And class warfare is unacceptable in America because we're all supposed to be equal in this country. We aren't. And there are rich people, and there is a small middle class, and there is an enormous working class that gets ignored, marginalized, entertained, bred in circus to death. And that's the problem. That's what you can go back to communism and talk about what Engels and Marx were talking about with the proletariat and the fucking bourgeoisie. I mean, that's where it's the never-ending fucking struggle. Empty platitudes is really what this was. She is closer to me than Trump is by far, but she's a corporate shill. And she is a warmonger, and she is an adult, and I would trust her with nukes. Let me leave you with this. I felt like the white man, the Democratic National Convention compared to the Republican National Convention, the Democratic National Convention seems to be leaving white males behind. Their mention of gun control, Hillary Clinton mentions gun control. She quoted the play Hamilton at the end, which was there was no reason to quote that play. She did it simply because it has a connotation to slavery and black people and minorities, and that's the new base of the Democratic National Convention. The largest growing segment of our population is female Latinos. White males are being, and I know why white males don't like Hillary Clinton. I know why they don't like the Democrats. They're being left behind. They're not for gun control, and Hillary Clinton is. They're not for open borders, and Hillary Clinton is. She doesn't mention the working classes or unions or manufacturing jobs, which were what white males who made $50,000 a year, $40,000 a year, whatever, before inflation kicked in, and could save money and could put their kids through school and could go on vacation. They can't do that anymore. And that's who Trump has found, and that's his base. And I think Hillary Clinton would have done more to include those people. We get your anger. We understand why you Southerners are angry. You Midwesterners are angry. We're not coming after your Bibles. We're not coming after your religion. We want to help you economically, et cetera, et cetera. But she didn't do that. And it really was disappointing because I think you missed an opportunity. And again, there was a lot of stuff that you can feel the tide moving more to the right. This was the Democratic National Committee, and you're talking about, the convention, and she's pro-war. She's pro-fighting, increasing the military. She's pro-cops. She's I was stunned at some of the stuff that this is to rally the base, and the base is changing, and it's unfortunate. It's getting more right-wing. I want to leave you with this as well. I liked what Joe Biden said about Donald Trump. He said it in his speech, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is and I'm just going to leave you with this. But Joe Biden said, "How could the words 'you're fired' bring you any pleasure?" Donald Trump, of course, his famous line is "you're fired." And when he said that, I just found that to be so telling of this. How could the idea of being fired bring anyone pleasure? I've had to fire people. It's fucking horrible. I've been fired and had to fire. It's fucking horrible. And to find some kind of pleasure in that, to build your whole life on that, to build your whole, not your whole life, but your fame in this, it's really sad and it's really disturbing. And I think it's telling of who Donald Trump is and who the people who support Donald Trump are. Thank you for listening and have a great day.